Hi Keisha. And this entire video is actually just going to be super simple. It's just going to be about what I'm doing at crate and doorways right now. Bandit anticipates everything. So if you can imagine a dog who anticipates crate, anticipates doors, anticipates sits and downs and prey drive activities, like this constant motion is going to translate to leash reactivity. And it's actually a really imbalanced state of mind, you know. So we have a lot of work to do. So my biggest piece of advice with him coming home is to go extremely slow. You know, he needs to be in his crate whenever you're not working with him, because he anticipates everything. You know, it's really important that you are in a place where you can give him all your attention. So not only do I want to encourage you to put him in his crate whenever you're ever not working with him, I want you to also go very slow when you are working with him. You're going to be meditating several times a day. You know, we like to think of this as a form of mindfulness because you're having to pay attention to every little tiny detail. And this can become very, very taxing after a while. So if you're in a hurry and you know that you are going to feel hurried, I want to discourage you from working with him. You know, spend 5 or 10 minutes working on crate and doors and let him go out and potty and put him back in his crate. You know, there's no harm in that. It's a temporary process until he gets himself fully established. But if you're in a hurry and you only have a little bit of time because you have to get to your next class or whatever, and you don't feel like that energy is there to give him the level of attentiveness that he needs, I would highly encourage you to just put him right back in his crate. Potty and crate, and then come back when you're ready. Because, you know, I'm really busy. We've talked about this. I'm a go, go, go kind of gal. I get a lot of dogs like this where they make me slow way down. It's much harder than it sounds, and it's taxing. So there are times, I love Bandit. He's one of my all-time favorite dogs, but there are times when I don't feel like working him because it's tedious. You know, the shit that he pulls is just tedious, you know, because it's constant and it's everything. It's everything that he does. So I have to make sure I'm paying attention to his every little move so that I don't go, oh, I need to go do this. And before you know it, he's anticipating and breaking his command, you know. So this is intense. It's going to be a lot of work, but I see the payoff already. I've had other staff members work him, and he is so much better for me because obviously he's going to be different for every handler. Every handler is going to create a different experience, right? So he's already way better for me than he is for anyone else who's worked him. So I know that the work that I've done with him so far is very beneficial because it's working. So there's a positive note. Now with the crate, what I'm doing is now just real quick before I go into this, you might need to invest in a bark collar, especially because you're going to be in the dorms. You can't have this dog barking all the time. And I don't think that he's going to take to being in the crate a lot very well. At least at first. I think once he gets into a routine, he actually enjoys the sleep. But after you left on Sunday, I have never seen him throw such a big fit about it. So that tells me that he is very used to being involved in everything that you're doing, you know? So, I mean, aside from all the activities that you were sharing with him, I think that he's probably been following you around the house and anticipating your every move. You mentioned that you can't even go to the bathroom without him needing to be at your feet. And so that level of like, oh my gosh, I need to pay attention to her every move. Not only is it an anxious state of mind and an anticipatory state of mind, but it actually bleeds into protectiveness and alertness towards the handler and around the handler. And so when you all of a sudden say, okay, like I worked you and now you're going to go take a nap. And he's like, well, I'm used to paying attention to you and the surroundings all day long and I can't keep my eyes off you. Then what you get is a protest in the crate because you're blocking that. So I would encourage you to cover the crate so that he can't stay alert and focus all the time on you. I would cover it. And I would consider getting a bark collar. I like to use bark limiters by Garmin. You can get it at Cabela's or you can get it online. They are set up to your phone so you can adjust the bark settings, and you can also see how much he's been barking. They also have these style of proms that are soft, a little bit softer on the neck. So I would encourage you to get a bark limiter by Garmin, and you can test it out for a couple days, but considering what I saw at the midweek, I don't think he's going to take well to being in the crate a lot at first. And so by blocking the barking and the protesting, we eliminate that kind of bossiness, but we also, and where he's going to start sleeping. And when he starts sleeping, that's when the information starts to become retained, is when they sleep. So it's actually an important part of his rehabilitation that obviously sleep is what was a key component and what was missing with him while you were in Japan. But aside from keeping the adrenaline down and keeping the stimulation levels at a norm, sleep helps retain information. So this is how you're going to actually accomplish what you want faster, is by putting him in his crate whenever you're not working him, regardless of how long he's been in there. Don't worry about that part. He'll be out of it before you know it. It's when you start worrying about the crate part and letting him stay out too long that you start to forget that you need to pay attention to every little damn thing this dog does. And then that confusion doesn't bring clarity to him. So then he really struggles containing himself and his impulses. All right? So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to come up to his crate and I'm going to open his blankets. Get his e-collar. This is not his long line. I do not know why this is on here. Okay. I don't know how he comes out of the crate for you. I don't even know what you do. So this is going to be your new routine. He goes home and then I come and work with you a week later. So I want you to be leashing him up coming out of this crate for the next week. You will be, basically limiting that freedom of coming out of his crate and squirming around and all that kind of stuff. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that he knows he has to sit before I'm going to open the crate door. So you see how he's just standing there like that? Now, he knows that because that's the only way I'll unlatch it. He does not know that because I tell him to sit. Does that make sense? So in other words, when I don't have a tool on a dog to reinforce things, I'm not going to ask things of them. I know he would sit if I told him to, right? He's probably wouldn't even care. He'd love to. So this isn't even the type of dog that's going to be like, no, I'm not going to sit. You don't have a tool on me. Really what it is I want the dog to calm down on their own, right? So if I don't do anything but sit here and wait, and he comes to this conclusion on his own, I need to sit, then not only is his brain calming down, but he is working through that on his own, which is super beneficial for a dog. When they start doing things on their own without us having to constantly tell them, they start to excel, because they're doing it, not us. Okay? So first thing is wait calmly until he sits on his own. No greetings, no hey bandit, nothing. Just wait calmly until he sits. Second thing is reach for the gate latch. Now if you go for the crate latch and he gets up out of his sit, you're going to stop. And he does this sometimes to me still. Even yesterday he did it. He was so excited to get out of the crate that every time I went like this, he got up out of the sit. That's anticipation, right? So I counteracted that by taking my hand off the latch and saying, well, if you get up out of your sit, I guess the crate door's not going to open. Okay, so that's the first step in kicking anticipation in the butt. Right there, you just did it. You see? So every time I move my hand forward, if he gets all anticipatory, I'm going to move my hand back. Now I'm going to open the latch and see what he does. Same thing. I don't want to move forward if he breaks his command. So I'm going to sit there and wait for him to go into a sit if he breaks. right? This is how I'm going to break it down for him to bring clarity. Then I'm going to open the door. And door open doesn't mean go. And he needs to stay in that sit, okay? If he were to try to get out because I opened the crate door, I would simply close it like that. That simple. So I don't close it like this. I actually like waft it into their face like that. And what that does is it backs the dog up into a sit. And then I'm going to open the door again and see, hey, can you maintain this sit without me having to address you and without you anticipating? And we're going to work on this at the go home, by the way, because this is extremely important. If he anticipates in a crate and a door, he's sure as hell going to anticipate everywhere else, right? So this is important. Now I add this step for Bandit. There he goes. See how that backed him up? Now I add this next step for Bandit specifically because we are working on anticipation. And that is, I start saying lots of different words that aren't his release. I flick around the leash. I might stand up, move around, because I want to make sure all four are on the floor. I want to make sure that none of the things I'm saying or physically doing indicate to him that that's his release word, right? So then once I get him to the point where he's not squirming around trying to anticipate every damn move I'm making, I'm going to invite him out. And when I invite him out, I'm going to lasso him up into my leash. So it's going to look like this. Bandit. Now you have to excuse me for a second. I'm not talking over a heater. Right? So I leash him up as he came out. Every single time I bring him out, he needs to shake a couple times, so I let him do it. There he goes. Right? Now that he has done his shake, I'm going to get his e-collar, and I'm going to hold it. Hold on one second. I'm going to back this up so you can see it better. There you go. Sit! So I'm going to hold his e-collar like this, real low. He anticipates the e-collar being put on. He anticipates everything. This is why I'm going over such minute details, because we have to literally address every little form of anticipation that this dog experiences, or else he's never going to get any better. So I hold it down low like this, and I expect the sit stay to be maintained, right? And of course, he's distracted by all the other dogs. And usually I have to wait a minute just for him to calm down because he's so worked up about just getting out of his crate, right? So I sit here, I've got my e-collar down low. Once he's giving me eye contact and softened a bit and not so shaky and wiggly, I'm going to put this on. There you go. Good. Good job. So he's on a 3 on his e-collar. Here. I always want to make, as you know, I like to make sure that he understands what word is the release command, so he stays in a sit until I give him permission otherwise. Now I'm going to angle this. Sorry, I don't like to edit my videos. I don't have enough camera space. I'm going to angle this so you can see this from the side with the door work. Right? Sit. And the reason why I'm doing this is because then you can actually see the anticipation and by looking at the side. Okay, real quick, we're going to break this down into 5 steps at the door, okay? Step 1, Bandit is no longer allowed to lead you or meet you at any door. He has to walk in a here and stay in a here all the way to any major threshold. So if it's your dorm door, the door that goes into the outside world, a car door, anything that creates excitement or that is an entry or exit point into something exciting, quiet! This guy needs to stay in a here, okay? So the first step 1, stay in a here with the handler all the way to the door. Who is this? Sorry, I hate whining. Step 2 is I'm going to reach for the door handle, and I'm going to actually twist it, and I'm going to see what he does with that. Right, so he stayed. Can you see how nothing moved? Everything stayed. Shut up! Everything stayed in one place. So now, step 3 is I'm going to open the door and see what he does. All right, so step 1, go to the door with you. Step 2, open the door handle. Step 3, open the door. All of this needs to be maintained into a sit-stay. Now, my 4th step bleeds into my 5th step. So my 4th step is eye contact. And my 5th step is we're going to walk through the door together. And in that process, I'm going to test him. This is where it's a little bit different than some of my other videos I've made online. So I want to test him and make sure that he doesn't anticipate, right? So I'm just going to start doing these types of things. Click. Sit. Dramatic. Sit. And we've been waiting for a while, so it's like he hasn't he's not real excited. This is even worse when he's excited. This can take several repetitions when he's very excited. But this testing phase is going to be extremely important because this is how you actually test the anticipation. I feel like when we freeze and wait for eye contact, that moment of freezing, the dog starts to go, are we doing it? Are we doing it? So this kind of movement I'm doing kind of creates an uncertainty and like keeping him on his toes. Well, I don't really know what she's doing. She's all over the place, right? So then I'm going to wait for eye contact. He's giving me tons of it. And when I see that, then I'm going to say, here, and we're going to walk through the door together. So, I am first through the door. I'm first. Because when he's in a here, he's behind me a little bit. So I am going through the door first, but we're doing it together. And I feel like it prevents that explosion that he has a tendency of getting himself into, where he'll explode through the door, So if I say, let's go through the door first and then say, let's go, he has a tendency to want to burst through it and get by me. So that here prevents the explosion and kind of groups them up with you. It's way more effective. Let's go. And I think that it's going to help with the anticipation to put him into it here. So I'm just going to do this again here and see. Here. There you go. Sorry for the shoddy camera work here. But we're going to do one more door, and then I'm going to wrap up this video. This is the door to the outside world. So it's a little more exciting than the door from my garage to my workshop space. Sit. So step 1, he walks the door with me. Step 2, twist the knob, see what he does. Step 3, open the door. Door open doesn't mean go. I'm going to test him. Sit. I'm going to back up a step. I backed up a step because, no. Here, sit. I'm backing up a step because he's so excited to go out that he's starting to think, oh, well, when she's moving back, maybe I should go into it here. Like, he's not listening to me. He's just taking my body language and moving with it. So I need to make sure that none of these movements are release words, regardless of how excited he is. And all this talking to you is hard for him as well, because the words sometimes he doesn't even hear. He just thinks, oh, if a word is coming, that means it's my release. So with you not talking to a camera, you might say a series of words to make sure that he's not over anticipating. Here. Good job, buddy. So that's how Creighton doors are gonna look. Right now, I've tried a couple different things with him. One is to boost him when he makes a mistake. The boost is a little bit harsh for him, so it kind of, I don't know. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it actually makes it worse. Telling him no when he anticipates, or just backing up a step. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm closing the door again because you screwed up. So these are 3 different things. I like to have a couple of different corrections for cattle dogs so they don't anticipate that either. So you could mix that up, but basically you need to start over everywhere you see anticipation. You know, you got to start over and reset it right where it was and say, no, that's not what I want. This is what I want the brain to do. So tedious work. But if we don't start the crate and the doors like this, everything else is going to go to shit. So it's actually really important that you're making sure to follow through with these particular steps, so that Bandit doesn't translate this level of anticipation to other places in the training. I also noticed that by being this adamant right from the get-go, he calms down faster because it's mental fatigue for him and he gets pooped by that. But his anticipation throughout the rest of the session gets better as well. So lots of benefit to this.